Hey everybody, hi baby. Emperor's playing in the mud, and that's why I'm outside, and I thought I would come on here and tell a little bit about how I found out that I was pregnant with twins and just some background to leading up to that. I'm gonna try not to sound too bad on here because I don't really want to edit this because editing takes time. And Ember doesn't really like when I'm sitting still and trying to do something. So this is a little bit about finding out that I was pregnant with twins, but more about praying what seemed like constantly and relentlessly to add another member to our family. Some people will probably think I'm crazy because Ember is only a year and a half, but I wanted to have my kids pretty close in age so that I was able to stay home with all of them relatively at the same time and for as long as I could until I would have to go back to work. And I didn't want them to be too spaced out because I knew that if they were too spaced out, I'd probably have to leave one and go back to work. And for me, that was like one of the biggest anxieties that I've faced, is just thinking of someone else taking care of Ember other than me. So it was a big struggle there for a while. After having Ember, we waited about 4 or 5 months to start trying again. But then from then on, we started trying every month. And every month it came back with negative results. Do you need more, baby? Do you want to say hi to the camera? Come say hi to everybody. Say hi. You say you're playing with mud? Yeah, you're cute. You're so cute. Oh yeah? Do you want to go play with more mud? No. You want to sit here with mommy? Yeah? Okay, you can sit here with mommy. Just don't get mud on mommy's butt, okay? Yes, but anyways, God really, I'd say...
Whoa, Mama.
What happened, baby? Okay, we're back. Yeah, so I prayed quite a bit all the time, it seemed like, for us to be able to conceive again. It was really discouraging for a while because with Ember it happened in a matter of weeks and it seemed like we weren't even trying. And for this time around it took, well, Ember's a year and a half, and we found out 18 months for us to conceive again. And for anyone who's ever tried to have a baby for that long, that seems like a long time, especially when every month you're praying for it and you're expecting it and you take a test and it's not the results that you want to see. So that took a lot of faith. And I have a really cool story that I felt led to share with everyone. I struggled with this for about a month or two, not whether if I should share, but just being vulnerable enough to share it, because I know it's not usual for people to come on here and like show the cool stories that have happened that God has like placed in your life, but he has blessed me immensely, and I just think that I owe it to him and I owe it to others. If one person gets something out of this, then it's worth making this video. But I just felt led to share a little bit about what happened during the process of not being able to conceive all the way till finding out we were having twins to add to our family. So I keep a prayer journal, and this is just where I keep all my thoughts, and I write down verses that I really like. Ember's singing over there. I write down verses I like. I write down prayers, prayer requests. I keep everything in here, and I like to go back later and write down the prayers that were answered. And I have a lot of answered prayers in here, which at the time it didn't seem like they were ever going to be answered because it took a long time. And it wasn't just about pregnancy in here. There's a lot of other things in here that I've prayed about that have come true, and God has always been faithful. And what point of life you were in a few months ago, a year ago, a week ago, and just how God answers. There's a verse that I really like that says, for those who will pray, they will get answers. And it's just a matter of having a lot of faith, because it's not like God, you're gonna pray and then all of a sudden God answers that exact day. I think it's just having faith and trusting that God will eventually come through for you. So anyways, what started it all out is I was getting discouraged. I was praying a lot about getting pregnant and conceiving, and just adding to our family. I wanted Ember to have a sibling close in age so that they could play together. I wanted to stay at home for as long as I could. Like, it would just look better financially for our family if they'd be close together. And I didn't know what it would look like if we had a big gap and I still wanted to stay home. Ember, are you messing with Daddy's plants? Jonathan's growing plants back there and she likes to help, but she's not supposed to be in there. So the first sign that I got from God is, oh, by the way, no one's ever heard this story other than my sister and Jonathan. So it's a little scary sharing, but it's kind of cool, so just keep listening. I promise I'm getting somewhere. So this is my Bible. Every time that I open my Bible, I kind of just open wherever. I have a bookmark of where I left off, but I just open and flip through the pages. But this particular time, I was really upset that I hadn't got any results with trying for a second baby. I randomly kept turning. I would just open my Bible, and this was the big verse that came up, and I will read it to you. It says, I prayed for this child, and the Lord has granted me what I asked of him. So now I give to him, now I give him to the Lord for his whole life. He will be given over to him. And that's 1 Samuel 1:27-28. And so that was the verse, big and bold, of what I had turned to. And when you're going through something and you open the Bible and something like that speaks to you, it feels like chills just going all over your body. I prayed for this child, and the Lord has granted me what I had asked of him. That gave me so much hope. But the first time I had turned to that, I put the date, and it was 7/22/19. So that was in the middle of July of last year. And so I had hope, and I was like, I've been praying for this for the last few months. This is a sign. But nothing had happened. And the next time I had turned to it was on 9/11, the same year. So that was 2 months later. The next time I had turned to it was 10/15 of that year. The next time I had turned to it was 12/10 of that year. This is all randomly opening it to that same page. And then the next time I had put it up to it was 1/15 of the next year, so 2020. And then we found out that we were pregnant 2/13 in February of this year. But the coolest part of this story, guys, is this story is about a lady named Hannah, and she was not able to have children. And the Lord blessed her eventually. She was old, and she never in her life was able to have children, and she prayed and prayed and prayed, and finally God gave her a son, and she named him Samuel. And she gave Samuel back to the Lord once he was weaned. But the craziest part of this story is that spoke to me was, first of all, I kept opening to it over and over randomly. Second of all, it's literally the story of a lady named Hannah who prayed to God about having a baby, and she had no answers for her whole life. And obviously mine wasn't my whole life, but her prayers were answered. So during this time that all of this was going on, things went through my head like, am I not a good enough mom? Why am I not being blessed with another child? Is there something wrong with the way I'm parenting? Does God not trust me with what I have already? And so all of that was not from God. That was from the devil. And the devil tempts you in so many crazy ways. And he'll make you doubt God. There was a few times I got mad in the process and I couldn't understand why I couldn't get pregnant again. And it's hard when you see other people around you getting pregnant. And I already have a huge blessing. And that was one thing I prayed to God. I was like, Lord, if Ember is my only baby, then let me be at peace with that, because she's the biggest blessing and I love her so incredibly much. I just wanted her to have siblings, and I thought for my family I'd have more, but I didn't want to be greedy. So I had made peace with it. But when I had really made peace with it, and this is what totally sealed the deal for me, I was like, I'm gonna be content with whatever God gives me for now, and I knew he would be faithful at some point. I just didn't know when. I go to a MOPS group, Mother of Preschoolers at Fort Naz, and I've never told our MOPS leader this. Her name's Christy, and she's awesome. But I went to a MOPS group, and I remember that morning I was tired, like you always are. Moms are tired. But I was upset again because I think I had recently taken a test and it was negative, and I was just bummed. But anyways, Christy usually gives a message, and we do a craft, and just encouraging, and moms are around. But this particular message happened to be 1 Samuel 1:27 through 28, the story of God's faithfulness to Hannah in her time of struggle through not conceiving and through her rigorous praying. And I just couldn't believe it, because this is the same verse that I had turned to over and over in my own Bible months after months at a time. And then here I come to MOPS, discouraged about what was happening, and then that is the message that she decided to share, and it spoke to me in so many ways. Are you doing okay over there, baby? Yeah. At that point, I even noted it down in my journal. I felt like I had a sign from God that said, Hannah, right now is not your time. I have a time for you. I'm giving you all of these signs to let you know that I haven't forgotten about you. And he didn't forget about me. But in that time, you just feel like you just have to have faith, because God was giving you sign after sign. You can't physically see him, but when you get all of these signs that they just don't make sense any other way, you feel the presence of God and you just trust him. So I wrote down in my prayer journal about that happening. And I just said, God, I pray that I'm content with what I have right now, because I have a perfect little family that I love so much. And if it's in your will for me to have more children, then let it be, but let me be okay with whatever time frame that happens. And so I kind of just let it be. And I would occasionally pray about it still, but I wasn't as obsessed, and I wasn't being hard on myself like I was before. And then when we found out, it happened 2 months later, and it was a shock. Oh, we were super excited. I showed Jonathan, and then a few weeks go by. We have to wait for our 8-week appointment to go and check on the babies. And the morning before we went to our 8-week appointment, I told Jonathan, because this had happened about 2 weeks before, so I was about 6 weeks pregnant. I had a dream that we were having twins, and I have crazy dreams all the time, but this one was a vivid dream. I remember it. I had 2 babies in my arms, and I don't know, it was just a really surreal dream. But I had a dream that I was having twins, and so you can ask Jonathan about this. I told him the morning before we went to our appointment, I was like, Jonathan, I had a dream that we were having twins. And he was like, okay, whatever. And I was like, all right. So we went in, and they brought out the ultrasound machine, and the lady was new, so it kind of took her a minute to get stuff up on the screen. But when she did, I immediately saw 2 sacks up on the screen, and I gasped, and I said, oh my goodness, there's 2 babies up there. And Jonathan looked, because he wasn't really looking at the screen, he was looking at me. Then he looked at the screen and he's like, what? And so we had to get double confirmation a few times, and there were in fact 2 babies. And so that's a whole nother story. A flood of emotions came over me. I had gotten so many signs throughout all of this, and I strongly believe every one of them was from God. At first, I thought that God wasn't giving me another baby to care for, because I had doubts about myself, thinking that maybe I wasn't a good enough mom, that I wasn't enough, that he couldn't trust me with more. And then he gave us this gift and showed us, I trust you fully. And I feel like he was telling me, you had faith in me, so I'm giving you these 2 babies to show you that I have faith in you. And it gives me so many emotions, because God is that powerful. So, that is a little bit of background of, not about finding out, kind of about how we found out we're having twins, but more of the lead up to it, and kind of just showing that, like, the twins weren't an accident. I prayed for them. They're a blessing. Ember's super excited to be, Ember, don't do that, baby. It'll kill the plants. Ember's super excited to be a big sister. We are crazy nervous about having 3 babies, and Ember will turn 2, and then we'll have the baby. So we'll have 3 babies in the span of 2 years. And so now I'm praying for, Lord, you've trusted me with these babies. And I prayed for 1 baby, you gave me 2 at one time, and now I have my sweet other little big helper back there, killing her dad's plants. And so now my prayers are to help me take this with grace, because he trusted me with this big task, and he felt like I could do it. And I just hope that, hi baby! I just hope that this video that I made, it took a lot of courage to finally make it, and it's not perfect, and I get teary-eyed, and I stutter. You want to ride on my back?
Yeah.
All right, Mama's almost done. Can you say hi?
Hi.
I just wanted to share that cool story, and just let you know that whatever you're going through, God listens. If you continue to talk to him and have faith in him, your prayers will be answered. Is that Embers? Yeah, so I hope if one person watches this and they're encouraged by it, or they feel lifted up, if you're going through kind of the same thing that I'm going through, put everything that you have into God and he'll take care of it. Right, Ember? Can you say Jesus loves you?
No.
Say Jesus loves you.
Baby.
She wants her binky. All right. Bye, everybody.